Now, our main story on the show today, how should a state school select its pupils? Well, when it comes to results and attainment, St Mary Redcliffe Temple School in Bristol is one of the best state secondary schools in the city. But this morning we're hearing from people who have a real problem with how the school chooses who gets to attend. The school prioritises children whose family regularly attend church. The school's been running a consultation into its admissions policy. Here's our reporter, Pete Simpson.
Good morning from Clarence Road, which is one of the busiest roads in Bristol, but it's also on the edge of Redcliffe Hill, which is where St Mary Redcliffe Temple School is. I can see some of its shiny buildings next to me here. They've got a 3G pitch, which I know is used by some five-a-side teams. They've got a swimming pool in there as well. Well, some local kids have their swimming lessons. Now, there's been a school of some sort here, Ems, for hundreds of years. At the moment, 1,700 pupils attend here, and it is a faith school. It's affiliated to the Church of England and to St Mary Redcliffe Church, with its glorious splendour just the other side of Redcliffe Hill. You can't see it from here. And you're right, to all intents and purposes, it's a great success. Children here are happy, they are attentive, they tend to do very well in their exams. However, there have been for a while, and continue to be, grumbles, shall we say, about how the school goes about choosing who it gives places to. Some say it's selective, it's unrepresentative and inherently unfair.
So what is the school's admissions policy as things stand?
OK, so of 216 school year places, the first priority is for children with educational health and care plans, so children with special educational needs and disabilities. But after that, it's where it comes a little bit controversial, because they set aside 16 places for local children of no faith, or regardless of their faith. They set aside 4 places for pupils who come from other religious backgrounds other than Church of England. And then you have the rest, which is up to 196 places, Ems, for children whose parents or carers regularly attend church. And they sort of categorise that into 3 different categories. The top priority is for those who go 3 times a month or more. The second is for 2 times a month. And the third priority is for those who attend church 4 times a year. Now, there's no mention of geographical location when it comes to ranking how committed parents or carers are to the church. And it's this aspect, of the selection policy that some people have a real issue with.
Our reporter Pete Simpson there. Now, we invited the school onto the show this morning to respond to the open letters that have been published about its admissions policy, because we wanted to give them the opportunity to explain their point of view, to correct any misconceptions, and to explain why it's a good and fair admissions process. But the school declined to be interviewed. They declined to even send a statement. Instead, here's what staff say about the school in a recent promotional film.
I think what's great about this school is, whilst the focus is obviously heavily on academic progress, we view the pupil as a whole, the student as a whole, and there's a real strong emphasis on building the whole individual, the whole person.
One, I think, of the major reasons is the identity that the school has, that sense of community which is driven through the alive themes which permeate every element of the school.
Our values are really important to us, and not just because we're a Church of England school, but because we really care about every student succeeding and achieving. So we based it on a saying from a saint called Saint Irenaeus, who said that the glory of God is a human being fully alive.
Great exam results are really important, but even more important is that young people are fully alive as human beings. And they understand that they can be questioning, they can be creative, and they can really explore to the full who they are.
Now, obviously, I'd much rather spoken to a real person. I'd even have gone so far as to read out a statement. You know how much I hate statements. But anyway, here's what you've been saying this morning. Kenny on Twitter says, St Mary Redcliffe School gets such high results by cherry-picking the children with the most potential. That is not the measure of a good school. The measure of a good school, says Kenny, is about the impact they have on bringing out the potential of any child. Debbie from Henbury's called the show as well, because there was reference earlier. Christine Townsend, an education campaigner and teacher herself, said that people from disadvantaged backgrounds don't tend to go to church. Debbie says, last time I went to church, it didn't cost me anything. The church is open to people from any background, says Debbie this morning. 11 minutes past 8, BBC Radio Bristol with me, Emma Britton. Let's speak to two people who feel strongly enough about this admissions policy to have written to the school. Matt Burns lives in Totterdown and Paul Smith is the Labour councillor for Central Ward in Bristol. Matt, I'll come to you first. Good morning. Can you summarise what you said in your letter, please?
Morning. Yeah. So mainly my main beef is the fact of that socially selective admissions policy, where half the kids that so in Redcliffe, the kids that are in the flats next to that school, half of them are eligible for free school meals, yet only 8% of the kids that go to the school are eligible for free school meals. So there's, these kids are looking at their bedroom windows at the school they can't go to. They have to get on a bus and go to a school further out, while kids further out get the bus in. It's crazy.
And why do you
and things like this.
believe that is the case? Why are they not gaining admission?
Well, so the top priority for admissions is attending 3 times a month for at least 3 years. Now,
attending church?
Attending church, yes, a Christian church, a place of worship. Now, whilst that seems like a free and easy thing to do, if you're wealthy and have lots of spare time and you care about your kids' education and you want to game the system and all these kinds of things, you can do that. But if you're a single mum in a block of flats making ends meet, are you, with what's currently now like an 8-year-old child, are you going to start thinking, I need to attend church 3 times a month to make sure my kid can get to the school next door?
But that might be what some parents who are financially stable are doing. It's not necessarily about the money. They're doing it because they want to get their kids in that school.
Absolutely. And do we feel that's right? I mean, who benefits there? I mean, is that even what they want? I mean, surely no one wants that. It's just crazy.
They are a faith school, though.
They're a faith school, but they're state funded. I mean, this is us taxpayers are paying for this. The entire running costs are funded by the taxpayer. If this was a hospital we were talking about, this is a public service. If we said, this is a hospital that only allows children that go to church 3 times a month because we're oversubscribed, the emergency unit is too busy, we would be rioting. It doesn't make sense to me.
So if you had the chance to, say, rewrite their admissions policy, how would you do it?
Well, firstly, I wouldn't take faith as the way to sort of select when you're oversubscribed. Their website says that they want to serve the local community, and they believe in social welfare, things like these. But the best way to actually do that, to do what they say, would be to help the kids that are the most vulnerable. So it would be to take the ones that are closest to them. The school is situated in a very deprived area, so they have this golden opportunity to affect real change, social mobility.
Have you had a reply to your letter?
Not one, no. And I've emailed them as well. And I genuinely would love to speak to any of the governors and really understand what I'm missing, because I must be missing a point here, because yeah.
All right, Matt. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get them on the show either, so I'm sorry to have let you down on that. Matt Burns there from Totterdown. Paul Smith is the Labour councillor for Central Ward in Bristol. Paul, you've also written to the school. This criticism has been going on for years, though, isn't it? The fact is, though, anyone can go there if parents are willing to put some effort into going to church.
Firstly, you have to remember that quite a lot of the families in that area aren't Christian. They're in other religions, so that immediately excludes a large number of people who live in the area. But it's interesting. The church itself, Mary Redcliffe, is doing fantastic outreach work in Redcliffe, doing lots of work with the community and supporting the community, and its school is completely failing. It excludes the local community from the school that, as Matt says, people can see from their windows. It's encouraging lots of car journeys around the city and people coming in from as far away as Swindon to the school because they won't take local children. Now, I was brought up as a Christian, and Christianity was all about reaching out to the poor and the dispossessed and the vulnerable. Seems to me that the school's Christian ethos, based on just attendance at church, actually goes against Christian theology.
When it comes to results and attainment, though, the school's one of the best state secondary schools in the city. So do you think they're sort of, riding on that, and that's how they're, what some people might say, getting away with their admissions policy?
Well, they're using their admissions policy to cherry pick children with high attainment so that they can then talk about how great their exam results are. I'm much more interested in schools that get great exam results when they're taking children from deprived areas than those that are cherry picking wealthier children from all around the region.
Do you think your letter will make any difference?
A private school that's publicly funded.
Do you think your letter will make any difference, Paul?
I don't know. I think, to be fair to the school, they decided to do a consultation. Myself and Kai Dudder, local councillors, consulted with local people. The local residents group have supported our submission. And if somebody's done a consultation on something that you feel really strongly about, I think you're honour bound to make a representation.
You know, a thing or two about consultations.
Oh, I do, yeah. And also, I have supported local parents appealing against being rejected by the school. People come into my surgeries during the admissions process. So it's basically an extension of that.
Thank you, Paul. Labour Councillor for Central Ward in Bristol, Paul Smith. Before that, Matt Burns from Totterdown. They've written to St Mary Redcliffe Temple School about its admissions policy, which basically prioritises the majority of their admissions to children whose families regularly attend church. A consultation on the policy ends today. Now, I reiterate again, we asked the school to come on the show. They declined our offer. I can't force them as much as I'd like to. 8:18, let's get the headlines from Keith.